Howdy, class. Here we are. We've crossed the halfway mark. We are now walking into week 8. Knocked out week 7 beautifully, charcuterie style with rillettes, mustard, different types of pate, crackers. How is everybody feeling with it? For those of you that have submitted, anybody that hasn't already, does anybody have any questions? Let us attack those now so we can get that knocked out before we hop into the seasonal week.
Love to hear your thoughts on the assignments.
We got a comment for Yum.
Yum. Lee says yum. How many of you were surprised by the liver pate? Eddie, you were surprised? Kathy? Awesome. Surprised in a good way? Sweet. All right, a couple of comments in the chat.
I just want to say, sorry, Chef, I just cut you off. I just want to say, Jamie, we're thinking of you. I hope you're hearing us. We are all thinking of you and wishing you a speedy and healthy and fast recovery and healing process, and lots of love your way.
Yes, lots and lots of love.
We got a positive on the mushroom pate. You know what? Okay, so one thing to just mention to all of you, remember, just like every recipe that we teach here in culinary school, right? This is a foundation. This isn't the end all be all. This is not the one and only, right? This is a platform of understanding how to execute a technique and get that finished profile, textural wise, consistency wise, you know, then you start to have an idea of what you're aiming for, and then you start to modify those flavor profiles, right? Maybe you think, you know what, I actually want a more savory and umami hit from that mushroom pate. Maybe I want a little bit sweeter on that chicken liver pate. All right, how do you modify it? Maybe I'm going to change that alcohol. Maybe I'm going to change up, I'm going to add some more aromatics or fresh herbs. This is what it's about, getting that base layer and then starting to play and have fun. That's my personal take. Same with crackers, right? You could add some herbs into that dough, add some roasted garlic, right? Roast that garlic first and then blend that into your liquids, mash that up, get some new flavors in there. You could top it with some cheese at the end to get some different flavor profiles. You could even, you know, add different spices into that flour, your dry ingredients first. Maybe you want to add a little cayenne pepper. You want some spice. Maybe you want black pepper. Really anything that you are trying to pair it with, that's what you want to be thinking about. Maybe you want to add some sun-dried tomatoes to that mushroom pate. That's what I would say. You want extra umami? Yeah, chef. Well, I saw you.
One of my students said that the next time he makes the mushroom pate, he's going to add some smoked walnuts to it, which I thought was a really interesting thing to add to the pate, give it some nice, you know, mouthfeel.
Smoked
Smokiness
walnut.
sounds really good.
I've never even, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Any other, yeah, tomatoes, yeah, all right. Cool. Christina, what's up?
You unmute yourself, Christina.
Working on it.
Okay.
Are you there?
Oh, you worked it.
I wanted to say I made the mushroom pate, but what I did is I sauteed some bacon to it, and it made it very good texture and very crunchy.
Cool. And we'll add that umami, you know, really kind of bump up that umami savoriness along with that extra fat as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
It did make it a little bit more runnier, but that's to be expected from the grease of the bacon if you drain it, you know, as well as you can, but it turned out fantastic.
Awesome.
That's great.
Lee, hands up.
Okay, finally unmuted. I made the mushroom pate and the rillettes and all that, and then when I put the mustard, the tangy mustard, I added a little bit extra sugar and salt, and it was awesome. And it tasted so good on the rillettes, and it's so mad that I could not eat more of it.
Oh,
So
I
my
know.
son devoured 90% of that food. And my neighbors, they loved it. They loved
Awesome.
it. I've gotten feedback on it. So one neighbor is a vegetarian, and she was just ecstatic to eat that mushroom pate.
Cool.
So
You know what else? I've been thinking about this a lot. You know, for people that I don't know if you've all been exposed or heard of this. Now, this is not a mushroom pate, nor is it a chicken liver pate, but similar concept in the sense of a spreadable, delicious, savory component for a charcuterie board. I'm just going to pull this up, but it is. Does anybody know what a tapenade is?
Were we
I've heard
talking
of
about that before?
I don't think so.
No.
I think I've heard of that. Well, say that again.
Tapenade. Does anybody know what tapenade is?
Isn't that like a meaty, not pate, but a spread that you can put on crackers and bread?
Yeah, we got Jamie Romero saying olives, and then Morgan saying olive tapenade. Exactly. So tapenade is from the Provençal region, but I'm going to pull up a visual so everybody can see this. But this is another beautiful spreadable component that you might want to think about adding to a charcuterie board in the future. You can do it by hand, which I've done many a times, but it's a lot easier in a food processor. You can make, obviously, these are black cured olives from Morocco, olive cured olives, olive oil cured olives. But you can do that out of green olives. You can make it out of a mix. You add some herbs. You could add sun-dried tomatoes, extra olive oil. But basically, the goal of that is getting, you can see it has some similarities with that mushroom tapenade as well. So just throwing it out there for all of you that were talking about how much you love boards, and thinking about, instead of putting an actual, you know, a charcuterie board oftentimes will come with olives or capers or caperberries. And if you don't know what a caperberry is, I want to show you what a caperberry is too, because when I was first introduced this, when I was in culinary school, I was like, what on earth is this? This is the most amazing thing ever. This is not a caper. This is something between a caper and a pickle, and heavenly. Yeah. Absolutely heavenly. You know, again, not that common, but if you ever get your hands on some, check this out, because these things are absolutely gorgeous. So if you love capers, I think you'd be into caperberries. It's kind of like somewhere between it's like a distant relative of a caper and an olive together. Briny, and a pickle, it's briny. It has these little internal seeds in here, but they're not hard. It's all edible. It's a beautiful, it really looks stunning on a charcuterie board. You can see the comparison from a caperberry to an actual caper. So just something else to think about to add that beautiful brininess and a flavor profile to get into your charcuterie board. All right, Jamie.
Are you able to unmute, Jamie? Huh. Well, I don't know what happened. We'll come back to you, Jamie. There's some really good comments here in the chat about using the leftover olive tapenade on a muffaletta. Fabian says last year US Air took one olive off of their salads, and they're saving $400,000. Is that right? Wow.
Maybe 40,000. I could, but I mean, depending upon their flights, could be.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Jamie, yeah, chef.
Go ahead.
No, I see you're taking that mustard for camping, using it on brats. I mean, talk about Memorial Day coming up. We were talking about what we're going to be grilling, what's going on the grill this upcoming Monday. Mustard is a great component, right? Not only for brats and sausages, but any old regular deli sandwich. It really elevates that. And this is something that you all want to think about, right? We've entered in CE187, a lot of us, or have already taken that, and we're thinking about menus, right? How do you upsell, right? We're going to tie this in, but having house-made whole grain mustard really kind of, it's like, wow, I want that. It's going to have a different flavor profile than your regular old Dijon or yellow mustard. So if you're running a food truck with or a deli and having some beautiful sandwiches, there are a few things that you can really kind of tweak, right? Whether that's making a house-made mustard or even buying pre-made mayo and mixing that with house-made mustard, or taking pre-made mayo and mixing it with some sun-dried tomatoes or olives or any, sriracha, which is really popular these days, really, or roasted garlic, and thinking about components that you can add to a condiment that's already made, because you're not going to, most likely not, you're only going to be making mayonnaise in-house, for certain reasons, right? If you're have a menu it works for that. Otherwise, you've got a really short shelf life. And a pre-made version, sure, it doesn't stand up to house-made aioli. However, that base is there, and it's really easy to incorporate flavors into a pre-made mayonnaise, and it saves you a lot of time on labor costs. And it still has that consistency there, and it's not going to break. You don't have to worry about any potential sickness, shelf stability, or anything, and you just can throw that flavor right in there, which is awesome. Even throwing some of that, sounds crazy, but a little bit of that mushroom pate, like a mushroom and mayonnaise base for a vegetarian spread. I mean, talk about the possibilities there. I mean, tons of options.
Richard, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. So I have a neighbor that I always give give her samples and everything like that. Now she told me the pate had kind of like a chocolatey taste to it. I didn't get that, but I did the recipe the way that y'all have it on there, but she said it was like a little chocolatey taste to it. Now I do want to know one thing. I do believe I didn't roll my my dough out as flat as it should be. My crackers weren't that thick, but they were a little bit thicker. Now, as far as the mustard, there was a guy sitting outside my house. He works for a government contractor, and he was just sitting there. And I asked him, does he like mustard? And he said, yo, I love mustard. So I said, would you like some? I said, I'm going to school. And I was like, would you like to try it? And he was like, sure, why not? So I came inside and I, let him try it. And he was like, do you have any more? And I said, yeah. He was like, dude, this is the best mustard I've ever. He said, like everybody else, he was like, this is the best mustard that I've ever had. So I was like, okay, cool. It was real pungent though, real strong. I used beer instead of like water or vinegar. I did actually put a little bit of apple cider in there, just a little bit, but I mainly, most of it was beer though. But yeah, I don't like mustard, so I had to have everybody else, somebody else try it, and then they loved it. So that was a wonderful on point recipe there.
Awesome.
That's fantastic. I love that you're sharing. I think a lot of my students relay that they share things with their neighbors or the family and friends. I think that's super cool because you get a lot of different types of feedback when you do that. So thanks for sharing that, Richard.
Yeah, Chef, talking about that, like getting feedback. You were mentioning the other friend that you shared it with and said that she got chocolatey notes. So if we actually talk about tasting, right? If we look at the flavor profile, if we look at a part of your narrative, that's why we have you do that flavor journal area, because you start to say, what am I tasting? What do I actually taste? Yes, I know these are mushrooms, but is something else coming through? Yeah, this is chicken liver pate, but what are these other notes coming from? You've got crackers, and the thicker or thinner that you're gonna make them, you're gonna get different notes, right? If it's not fully cooked and baked, you're gonna get maybe some raw floury flavor. If they're extra toasted, you're gonna get a lot more nuttiness. Just like if you think about butter, right? We just did that brown butter last week. The flavor changes, the aroma, right? You're gonna get nutty notes as opposed to buttery notes. So having that experience of what Chef is saying, giving tastes and samples to a lot of different people. Remember, every single person has their own taste buds. We're not all sitting here like robots thinking this tastes like this, I like this. We all have our preferences. We're all going to pick up different nuances. Just like we, you think about wine. If you go into wine tasting, somebody's going to say, well, I taste black cherries. What if I've never had a black cherry? I don't know what a black cherry tastes like. I might know what a red cherry tastes like, but if I don't know what a black cherry tastes like, I'm not even going to be able to describe that. So the more things that you eat and try and taste, you start to make connection with that and say, oh yeah, this kind of tastes like that fruit that I had. It smells like strawberries, or it smells like tropical fruits. Maybe you can't pinpoint which type of tropical fruit it is, but you smell it. So this is where you're gonna, which is great. Get as many people's feedback as you can with your food, because you'll get more information. And does this work? Does this not? You find a mustard lover, he or she loves that mustard, right? You find a mustard hater, the mustard hater is gonna not like it and say, well, I don't like that. But it's not because they don't like what you made, it's because that they're not particularly partial to mustard itself. So keep on thinking about that, right? People's tastes are gonna change. Every dish that you create is not meant for every single person. And I think that will help everybody. I know it's helped me in my career of thinking, just because I made something and somebody didn't like it, it doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It means that that's not suitable for their flavor, profile, their palate. But it's really good to hear people's feedback from somebody that doesn't like a dish and say, well, this is what I liked or didn't like, right? It was too salty and I didn't like the flavor, or it was great, but it was too salty, or it was too bitter for me, or too sweet. Everybody's going to have their own preference. Just like if we look at making basics of mashed potatoes or macaroni and cheese, what type of cheese are you using in your Mornay sauce, right? Pardon me, I have to sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. All right, that's just my tidbit on spreading the love and getting other people to try things and listen to what they say, because it'll give you great insight and make you better chef. All right. So, chef, shall we head into seasonality?
Shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, class. Who knows about seasons? Anybody? What's in season where you are right now? What season are we even in? Depending upon what region you are in of the world or the States, you might have different things popping up.
It's still springtime here.
Late spring. Who knows? Yeah, Richard, I know, right? It's COVID season. I don't know. It's time for mass, right? Spring. All right, we've got some spring.
Hot in Phoenix.
Hardcore summer. All right. Yeah, definitely there's going to be some variables depending upon which region you're located in. All right, we've got watermelon and honeydew melons. So melons are coming in.
Fabian, it's
Got a
the
lot of-
same right here.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't
I mean,
like the weather in Oregon, wait 5 minutes, it'll change.
We got peaches coming in, corn. All right. What else? What else? What do we think when we think about spring? When you hear the word spring, what are some of the items you think about that if you went to a restaurant, you would see on a spring menu, a seasonal menu? What do we think? Greens? What type of green? Summer squash? What do we think? What else? Strawberries. Yes, Fabian. What else? Asparagus. Yeah, Shanana. Got blueberries, broccoli. What else? Tomatoes might be starting to come up depending upon where you are. Shallots. All right, what type of fruit, Richard? Ramps, Kirsty, yes, ramps. Fiddlehead ferns. Does anybody know what fiddlehead ferns are? Morels. Awesome. All right, let me pull this up. I'm going to show you guys some. We've got apples. Okay, again, we want to make sure that we're really thinking about where we're located. Seasonality. What do we think seasonality has to do with an industry where we're sourcing products from all over the world? Does that have an impact on what's seasonal? I'm going to pull it back to the week one. Remember we talked about tomatoes? What do tomatoes taste like in the winter?
Styrofoam.
Yep, exactly, chef.
Not that I've eaten styrofoam before.
Hey, who hasn't munched on one a little bit here there, right? Sand, all right. Right, so now there's seasonality, right? Tough, yeah. So seasonality is kind of a weird topic for us in the present day and age. Now, of course, we want to be focusing and thinking about what is locally seasonal, because that has a totally different meaning than what you can find. If we walk into the grocery store, well, everything's seasonal. I see bananas, I see watermelon, I see tomatoes, I see everything. So where is the season? Hydroponics changes the concept of what's available in seasonal, right? Per season. You guys, are you guys picking up on that? That based on your region and based on what's supplied in the grocery stores, seasons don't necessarily match up.
Here's a question for you. If you're shopping in the grocery in October and you buy some blueberries, where are those blueberries coming from? Maybe other regions. Not local, that's right, you're getting closer. South America, that's right, Elise. They're being imported from other countries that are, the Southern Hemisphere has opposite seasons from us. So when blueberries are not in season here, likely they're going to be in season in that Southern Hemisphere. So South America, we get a ton of produce from South America, from Chile, Ecuador, Peru. So, that's something to consider with the global food market. Just because they're blueberries in the store doesn't mean that they're in season here. And you have to think about the carbon footprint that is created when things are flown from, a country that's very far away into the United States. How much fuel does that take? Lots of things to consider in that regard.
When are they even harvested? Are they harvested at their peak? Right? If they're flying in a jumbo plane or getting shipped, they're not getting harvested at their peak prime, right? Because they need to survive transportation. What about, okay, so let's think about apples. This is a pretty common one, I would say. Apples in the US. Apples in the US. Not necessarily apples that are being shipped from other countries. Apples in the US. When is typically the season for apples in the US all over? Fall. Yes, exactly. Right? So if we are rolling into the store in February, when did those apples get harvested? If we're talking about a US one, a US grown apple, not something that's imported. Does anybody know how they are stored? If they're all getting harvested in fall and we're eating apples in winter, spring, summer before the next harvest, how are they staying fresh?
That's a really good question, Chef. Jamie's onto something here. She says in the refrigerator.
You get warehouse, wax frozen. Okay, you don't want to freeze them because that's going to change. Is it the coating? Great, you're thinking, you guys are all thinking in the right direction. What else? What else could it be? If you combine Jamie and Lee's refrigerator warehouse, let's keep pushing it. Keep pushing it. Lighting, banks, chemicals. I like where y'all are going. This is a concept called controlled atmosphere storage. All right, controlled atmosphere. What do we know about the atmosphere? What do we know about maturation of fruits and plants? When a fruit starts to ripen, oxygen, yeah, right? Exactly. What happens when fruits and plants start to ripen? They release chemicals, right? This is why spoilage happens, right? Oxygen, they need them to breathe, right? So if you control the atmosphere, right? Control the surroundings, control the environment, drop the temperature, remove the quantity of oxygen, you stop maturation. We don't stop it. You slow it to an almost a stop. What other vegetables and fruits do you think are used in controlled atmosphere storage? Bananas, carrots, what else?
We've got tomatoes, squash, lettuce, potatoes, microgreens, mushrooms.
Just about everything. You know, there's a lot. Some are going to be held and can survive controlled atmosphere storage a lot better than other products. However, if you are living in a region where you're not in an agricultural hub, say Southwest or California, where you have a great sunshine and warm weather, and you have access to fresh greens and all that, how old do we think some of the products are that we're eating? Do we think that's just like freshly picked off the vine? No. Almost never, right? Tons of variables. Again, depending upon the product, you're going to see from, yeah, weeks to months where controlled atmosphere storage can be utilized. Farmers market's a great place to start for seasonal produce. All right, let's pick up, Jeff, I'm going to pull up the seasonal guide and then we can hop into the rest of the stuff. Don't you think?
That sounds great.
All right, cool. Let's do this, class.
Yeah, it is something to think about, Rashida. You're right. You ever buy some apples and they just don't have any flavor? It's likely they've been in cold storage for quite some time.
All right. Who wants to make a selection? What state? Who's up?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania it is. First one always wins. All right. Let's go June because we're creeping. Well, there's technically late May. It's a toss up. So produce available in Pennsylvania in late May. We've got apples, arugula, asparagus, cabbage, chard, chives, cilantro, greens, collards, beans, fiddlehead. Those are what I was talking about earlier, fiddlehead ferns, garlic scapes. We mentioned this a few classes ago, right? We were talking about alliums, green onions, lamb's quarters, a beautiful, beautiful wild forage product that you can see. We've got lettuce, mint, morels, right? Those beautiful mushrooms that almost look like tripe. Mushrooms, nettle, stinging nettle, onion, oregano, parsley, parsnips, pea shoots. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. It's a pretty good time to be alive, right? Well, what if we let's just to flip it, to keep it the same state, so we have something to compare, a control. All right. Let's see, what does early December hold for us? We start to see a change. Beets and Brussels sprouts, those weren't on the list before. Carrots, cardoons, cranberries are popping up, right? Now we've got leeks and horseradish and parsnips. Potatoes and pumpkin are coming in, salsify. Shallots, turnips, and winter squash. Smaller list, right? And different vegetables. And that is because of the location, right? The growing season, what's available, who's planting what, how does that pan out? All right, so this is a great website, seasonalfoodguide.org. You can put in your states, and now that's not going to be available for every single thing that they mention is not necessarily going to be there. And some of these are mushrooms are usually grown indoors. So you've got mushrooms are pretty much seasonal year round. But there's another website here, which is through Snap here, which gives you a more general guide to seasonality and vegetables. So as you can see, we've got spring here with your nice list. Moving into summer. But you'll start to see that there are differences, right? For example, there's raspberries on the list in summer and no raspberries for spring, but strawberries are crossing over, right? Because it starts in late spring and goes into early summer. Again, we've got winter squash coming in, as well as turnips, right? Root vegetables. Root vegetables are hardy. They're going to last through the winter. So you start thinking about that. They're not available necessarily in the summer in all locations. And then we move into winter. So these are some things to think about. Where do you live? What's growing there? What's popping up? Also, the integrity of farmers markets.
I have a question.
Yeah, Chef.
How many of you, when you were growing up, remember really looking forward to something being in season? And I can tell you that, yeah, like for me, it was the scuppernongs and the muscadines when they came in late summer, early fall.
What was the first thing you said, Chef? I know muscadine grapes, but what was the other thing that you said?
Scuppernong is similar to a muscadine.
Oh, okay.
But, I could not wait for those to come in. It was like the highlight of that transition from summer to fall. We've got raspberries, pumpkin. A lot of people look forward to pumpkin. Blackberry.
I used to love personally oranges. I know that sounds weird, but I'm from Chicago. Oranges don't grow. And citrus season. Oh my gosh, it was like the best oranges were coming in, during that winter time where you just thought, man, these are the most beautiful things that I'll ever see.
Mm-hmm.
Got mango, tomatoes, black cherries. Yeah. Richard, what's up?
We can get some. Hello, I'm sorry. When Chef Lee came up, she said about the scuppernongs and the muscadines. I know all too well about that. My mom actually has 2 vines of those at her house, so I know all about the muscadines because they have the tough skin and then that soft center. Yeah, the skin is like bitter, but the flesh of it is really sweet. So I love those muscadines and scuppernongs.
Awesome.
How do you all normally enjoy those other than just eating them fresh? What else do you do with them?
And people make
I heard that you can make wine with it and stuff like that. But me personally, I just pop them in my mouth and do my thing and go about my business.
Eddie's with us.
But I've never cooked with them or anything.
I can't wait long enough to do anything with them because I eat them.
Yeah, see that, and that's my thing. I just eat them. That's it. They're wonderful just in their natural state. So I can only imagine what it would be like if to make something else with it.
Catherine says she can make jam with it, jelly. Yeah. they're delicious. That just made me think of something else, Chef. You know how when Farmer Lee sends out the boxes, I think it was last spring, and he was talking about the asparagus and how, you know, that asparagus only rolls around once a year, and then you have to wait and wait and wait and wait for it to come back into season. And so how many of you are curious about the mystery box that you're going to be getting in week 12? Have y'all seen that on the class page? Eddie has. Yep.
All right.
Awesome. So, Chef, you want to share a
Sure.
little about that?
Yeah. All right. Well, so first, the gentleman who is at the helm of the farm that we're going to be that you all will be receiving your produce from is called Farmer Lee. All right, Farmer Lee Jones, and he is based out of Ohio, and they have a beautiful place. I remember one of my classmates back in culinary school, like 20 years ago, whatever this is now. I don't even want to think about the years. I don't even want to say that it was 20. That sounds wrong, but it was. That's gross. Life, guys, what's happening? We'll take COVID year and we'll call it 18. We'll take 2 off after that. But Farmer Lee Jones has a place called the Chef's Garden in Ohio. I'm gonna bring this up. It's incredible. This man has we're gonna have an actual the week, is it week 11 or week 12?
I think the boxes will be they'll arrive at your houses week 11. The presentation will be sometime maybe late week 10 or early week 11.
Week 11. Okay, they switched it up. All right.
Yeah, so this block, the students got their boxes in week 11.
Okay, and the presentation was
a little bit before that, a couple of days before, the week before.
Okay, so maybe week 11 or week 12 will be lucky and fortunate to get some time with Chef Jones here with us, and we'll hope that you can all attend. But this is, to keep it short and simple, they on their land are creating some of the best products that are used in the top restaurants around the nation. You all are going to be receiving products that honestly are just incredible. As you can see, receive the best of the season's vegetables, herbs, and microgreens direct from our farm to your kitchen. Now, obviously, throughout COVID, they have switched their goal, just like a lot of restaurants have switched from on-site dining to delivery and non-contact touch. Chef's Garden switched from delivering to the fanciest of the fancies of fine dining restaurants to doing a lot of home delivery. This is our man here, Chef Farmer Lee Jones. Always you always know him because he's literally only ever wearing overalls and a bow tie. Look at this spinach. Look at this squash. They also are doing greenhouse ware. Look at this chard. Obviously we're in spring, right? Excuse me, this is rhubarb, asparagus, right? We are gonna, I'm just gonna pull in this about so you can start to see this. What is about the sustainable philosophy here and regenerative agriculture. Please check out this page before we get into that week so you all can come to the meeting and ask Farmer Lee yourself some questions. But what's beautiful about this, the Chef's Garden mission, right? When we look at missions, a mission statement from your company or your restaurant or an establishment such as a farm is to shape and redefine sustainable agriculture in our country, right? Because we know our agriculture system is a little bit wonky at times. By creating a template that will attract, inspire, and retain young farmers. Through our own traditional farming practices and philosophy, we hope to encourage the next generation of farmers to value, protect, and if necessary, restore America's farmland in order to ensure that our fields continue to produce the safest, most nutritious, and flavorful products possible. That's something that's really interesting when we think about soil quality, rotational crops. If we grow the same crop over and over, like corn or soy in the same fields, we deplete the soil of its natural nutrients. That's why there's rotational crops, right? That's why you're trying to check the pH level What's the soil content of nutrients? Are those vegetables getting the nutrients, and not just the nutrients, but therefore the flavor that we want and need in a product? It's pretty incredible when you start to think about that. They're looking at farms in a different light. Yeah, you know, it's a different product. I will put the link in. Okay, and I'm not sure, we don't know exactly what's going to come in that mystery box, but you will have full creative freedom, which is going to be awesome. I see some hands up. We've got Kathy.
Can you unmute, Kathy? No? Okay, try again. There you go.
Okay, now I am. I was interested in what the mystery box was.
We won't know until we get
Mystery.
there. Yeah, he selects the things that are at their feet and kind of curates a box for you.
Wait, I have to mute you, Kathy, because it's really hard to hear. There's some background noise. Thanks.
Yeah, so Farmer Lee and his crew curate the boxes for you all, and everybody generally gets the same thing. So it's a huge surprise. It'll be a surprise to us as well. So I can tell you, you know, in former blocks, I don't know, what did they get the first time? Was it Brussels sprouts, kale? I know this last time they got some squash blossoms.
Ooh.
Some other, yeah. Lettuces, you usually get some microgreens.
Yeah, almost always microgreens, because those are your greenhouse generated. I think the first time there was also a wide array. I remember when I was
squash and the green beans.
Green beans and tomatoes.
That's right.
Gorgeous. Yeah. And I will say, I'm going to give you a little jump in before you get that box. Start thinking about knife cuts and utilization, fresh products. You don't need to cook everything. How can you highlight the flavor and the bounty of the season and tasting it? Don't overcook. Don't overcook these products. You want to really honor the flavor that's going to be presented. Remember, you can do a super thin julienne on a green bean. That's what I did with the green bean. We got 3 different types of pole beans in. It's like, I'm not cooking these. They're gorgeous. Taste it fresh and sweet first. Then you start thinking about, okay, how can I highlight without having my customers like chewing like a cow, right, in the field? Can I cut it in such a way that it can be highlighted? It could be a garnish, can be used as a component. Can it be a quick hot saute where I'm not deteriorating the color and I'm retaining that crispness, right? These are what you want to think about.
So yeah, you're going to be using these ingredients in conjunction with the other requirements for that week 12 assignment, which you're required to make a sauce. And we'll talk more about these things as we get closer to week 12. So a sauce, a protein, a veg, and a starch. And we really want y'all to start thinking about your plate presentations. We're going to be talking more about that. I'm going to show you some presentations for the pureed soup here in a minute. So, you know, we eat with our eyes first, right? So you want to present a plate that has some depth to it, that has a lot of color, a lot of interesting textures. And when we get to that week where we're talking about this, I have some cookbooks that I'll share with y'all again that have some beautiful platings. So shall we move into the
Let's
recipe?
do it, Chef.
Okay.
And then we'll come back to you, Kathy and Lee, if you still have questions.
Or if you want to do it while I'm.
Yeah, if you pull it up. Yeah, Kathy, are you good, or did you have another question? Thumbs up or thumbs down? You're good? All right, cool. Lee.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I got feedback. Okay. I was wondering about my I have a hard time growing anything in my soil. What used to be a pine tree farm, they poisoned the trees, killed the beetles and all that stuff, and it was seeped into the soil. And then as they built my house, they burned stuff. They dumped stuff in directly into the soil. How can I get my soil back to where it gives nutrients for anything other than grass and weeds?
Well, I'm going to mute you because there is that feedback, but I'm going to answer your question. A few things. Some of them are a little bit costlier than others, but obviously compost is going to be a great first start. Now, you don't necessarily have to create and generate your own compost. You can buy compost if you source it, right, and seek it out. Other things are like what my mom has done and for her backyard is getting high quality potting soil and high nutrient rich soil products, mulch, et cetera, depending upon what you need. But it can take a while to regenerate. There's a reason why we have a lot of products out there that are depleted in nutrients. It's because of exactly this soil that's been damaged, right? So it takes time. You could also do, I would personally suggest a quicker way would be raised planting beds. So raised beds, you're not going to be dealing with the soil that's directly in the ground. You would build raised beds using planks or whatever type of affordable wood that you can do and build those above ground. It's going to be more cost efficient because then you just have to fill that area with high quality potting soil, as well as some other fertilizers, little compost, little mulch, depending upon maybe sand, depending upon what you're trying to grow. But that's going to be probably your most effective way of getting some products in sooner as opposed to, a lot of upfront costs.
Yeah, you can also take a soil sample to your local extension service and they can analyze it for you and tell you what you need to put into the soil to amend it.
Yep, soil, Kathy was saying soil sample and now raised beds with soil.
Yeah. Bradley, I see your hand up. Evie, did you have a question? Your hand was up earlier. You're okay? All right. Bradley, we'll take your question, then we'll move into the recipes real quick, and then we can take a lot of other questions in the study hall.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Bradley.
Yeah, sorry, I just unmuted myself. I just wanted to say on the soil amendments, my brother does a lot of gardening and he uses biochar for when you first take over the soil, and then something called rock dust minerals, which are a composition of just rocks that are ground up. So.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, tons of ways to approach this as well. Your best is going to either getting some books or going to an authority. Chef Lee and I are authorities in the kitchen, not always in the garden. We've got some helpful hints for that, but we are no farmer Lee.
No, indeed.
So go to the pros.
I'm definitely not a farmer, Lee.
You are.
So looking at, can you all see the screen with the asparagus and strawberries, bamboo,
Yes.
I like to call it. So depending on what's in season in your area, you can choose the vegetable and the fruit that you use for your soup and your quick bread. Likely it's going to be strawberries and asparagus, unless you're in a really hot region where you may have some other things like corn. I think Morgan said corn's in season. So you could do a pureed corn soup. That would be lovely. So with your soup, I was talking about plating earlier. I really want you to think about how you're going to level up your presentation of your soup. And I have some photos that I want to share here, and I'll just kind of zoom in on a couple of them. But look at this. This looks like this is a leek soup, but see how they've done the drizzle of the cream and the chives and then that cracked black pepper on top. It looks gorgeous. So think about that when you're plating your soup. Here's another one that's a pumpkin soup that has some more cream and looks like some kind of nuts and some herbs on top. So it really elevates the the look of your soup when you present it. Here's an asparagus soup. It's gorgeous. Got just a little bit of dill and that drizzle of cream or sour cream, crema, any of those things will work. I say this in my feedback all the time. If you have this sort of, I don't know, if your rim needs to be wiped down on your bowl or your plate, wipe it down. If you have a baking dish and you're putting something in it to put it in the oven and bake it, wipe it down so you don't have the baked on bits on your pan. It's all about the, I don't know, just presenting things as beautifully as you can. So in a restaurant, if you're expediting, you're going to have a wet towel and you're going to wipe down the rims of the plates and the bowls before you send those things out to the table. As far as the recipe goes, and we'll do the soup first. Very straightforward. You're going to get 4 servings out of this. You'll need 2 pounds of your seasonal vegetable. Now, if you look at this recipe here, please notice that it has seasonal vegetables listed for each of the 4 seasons. You do not put all of these ingredients into your soup. I see that happen time and time again because someone doesn't take a really close look at the recipe. So for right now, as we said, asparagus, if tomatoes are in season in your area and you want to do a pureed tomato soup, that would be beautiful. But you're going to spike your onions and your garlic. No, not in this recipe. You're going to toss your vegetable and your onion and your garlic with olive oil, salt and pepper, put it on a sheet pan and roast it until you get some caramelization on there. You'll want to check your vegetables. And also when you put them on your sheet pan, make sure they're spread out enough so that you, so that they have enough room to brown. If you crowd them on that sheet pan, they're just going to steam. And then you're not going to get any of that flavor from the caramelization that will occur if they have room. And it's same, you know, the same is true with your meat, for the rillettes. If you put that meat in the pot and it's all crowded in there, it's just going to steam. So keep that in mind. After your vegetables are roasted, you're going to move them into a pot with the stock and simmer them until they become nice and tender. And then puree them. And if you want to add a little bit of cream for richer texture, you can certainly do that. All right, any questions about this soup recipe?
I was going to just chime in, Chef.
Sure.
I was just going to mention that if you want to think about this and think, all right, well, I'm making a seasonal vegetable soup. Well, if I want to make this vegetarian applicable, right? Switch out that chicken stock for a vegetable stock. All right. And if you wanted to go vegan, right? Really easy. Just eliminate the heavy cream because you're not even using butter in this. This one calls for canola oil. So by simply putting in a veg stock and eliminating the heavy cream, you have a vegan soup, right? So you can have a soup of the day. And that way, when those vegans or vegetarians roll in to your establishment, oh, is it vegetarian? Oh, actually, yeah, it's vegan. It has no dairy products and it's all vegetables. So something to think about. Now, obviously, you can have a different flavor profile, richness when you add chicken stock or butter or cream. But there would be also a quick way of modifying that. So maybe you keep that base vegan, right? And a quick way to make that a little bit richer and smoother, you could say, oh, do you want this vegan or vegetarian? And if it was no, you just put in a little bit of cream when you're reheating that soup to order, right? Drop a little bit in. Have your garnish be cream based, right? Like what Chef Lee was showing, those beautiful garnishes. Constantly thinking about that. We are trending and trending and trending. I mean, it's literally not stopping, everybody. The plant-based movement is not stopping. It's not going anywhere. It's going to stay present and keep growing. So you want to be thinking about that, forward thinking. How can you modify? How can you take one recipe, tweak it slightly, and still have a beautiful finished product, and maybe modify it for non-vegans or non-vegetarians by just adding a little cream or a dollop of butter in there and to add that richness that they desire and crave and want.
Some other things that you can add would be a little bit of miso paste. If you want to keep it vegan, you could add miso paste, or you could use some coconut cream or coconut milk. That's a good alternative to heavy cream in a recipe if you want to keep it vegan. Yeah, I would concassate your tomatoes if you're going to do a tomato soup. All right, let me go back to the screen here and I know we're coming right up on 4 o'clock. We're gonna just cruise this, and then, like I said, we'll take some more questions in the hallway. So here's the strawberry bread, and it's gorgeous. There are a couple of things you can do to switch this up. And this is a basic quick bread recipe. So just know that when you mix your ingredients, you want your batter to be kind of lumpy. If you over mix your dough, that's going to cause tunnels to form. And you can kind of see a little bit here, this where I'm moving the cursor, there's a little hole here. That's not really a tunnel, but it potentially could turn into one if this batter had been mixed any further. If you want to put a glaze on top of your quick bread, you can certainly do that. Here's some photos of some different strawberry quick breads, and you can see, there's some like a powdered sugar glaze. One student of mine did a strawberry bread and then did an orange glaze on top, so that you had both of those fruit flavors. So think about if you want to level up there, you can certainly do it. If you want to add some nuts, you can do that. So definitely some ways for you to be creative there. As far as that recipe goes, and let me see if there's anything else. No. Okay, so as far as the recipe goes, y'all have made muffins before. Didn't you do something in what is it, 122?
Yeah, chef.
Yeah, where you make muffins. So this is very similar to that. So you're going to mix your dry ingredients and then mix those together with your wet ingredients and fold it into a pan that is, fold your fruit in and then pour that into a pan that's already been greased. You're going to bake it for 45 minutes to an hour. Keep an eye on your bread while it's in the oven. You may need to rotate your pan so that you have an even distribution of color on top and so that it cooks through evenly as well. And then you're going to want it to cool on the rack before you cut into it. It'll be hard to do. Wait till it's cool enough is what I would say. And here again, we've got the seasonal fruit listed for each of the 4 seasons. So depending on where you live, strawberries may be in season, blueberries. So really, don't go to the grocery and pick up a packet of blueberries and assume that they're from your area. You may want to, and as you're looking at all sorts of ingredients that you buy throughout the course, you want to look at those labels and educate yourself about where your things are coming from. Chef, do you want to add anything to that recipe?
Yeah, I just want to say, also in the past, people said, well, what about bananas, banana bread? Well, do bananas grow where you live? If they don't, that's not in season. So when we're thinking about seasonality, really think about where you are located and try to harness that. Use that as your guiding force, because that is what this is about. All right, local and seasonal.
There's a question here. What did I just say? Was that about concassing the tomatoes, Amber? Did you have a question about that? Okay, yeah. So tomato, do you all know what tomato concasse is? Have you?
Everybody should know. We did execute that in CU222.
132, that's right. Okay, so yeah. So peeled, seeded, and diced. And you'll score the bottom of your tomato, drop it into some boiling water, take it out, pull that peel off, take the core out, and then scoop out all the viscous material that has the seeds in it. Chop it up.
And remember, if your tomatoes aren't in season and delicious, your soup is going to be lacking.
Yeah. And you cannot use canned tomatoes in your soup.
No, because those are from what season? Season 2019, maybe?
All right. Anita and Shanika, can y'all hang out in the hallway for a few minutes so we can get to your questions? Is that cool?
Awesome. We'll
All
cut
right.
it and come right back in.
All right.